Good morning, retail traders. Give it about 3 minutes. I got some tea in there working, so I'm going to play this little love song. Take about 3 minutes. Make sure you got your drink and your notepad. Retail traders, I hope you're having a blessed weekend. Let your family know you love them and your trading community. Kindness can go a long ways. Da, 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 da. I'm going to go over my stock watch list that I'll be watching this week, so make sure you write them all down. I did a marijuana video just a little bit ago. Watch that after this is over with. Also, I did a challenge count video. Watch that. About another minute to go. This will be recorded, so if you don't have time to now, and you can watch it later this afternoon. I'll be taking questions or stocks that you all point out to me after I'm done with my watch list. So limit one at a time. So make sure it's your favorite pick. About 20 seconds to go. Hello, Slice. Hello, Miss Florence. I don't know if we'll get a lot of people on here or not, but I'm going to go over a couple catalysts that I think will be good for next week, and go over the watch list that I created for next week. It's not a very big one, just some of my favorite ones that I think will be good next week. Now, I'm definitely under the understanding that China is going to relax their COVID rules next week, so I think China is going to be in play. I've got a few China stocks of my favorite that I'm going to put on my watch list. And then the pot sector has been going pretty good, and then we've got the oil still, I think, in play, in healthcare. And then a lot of tech stocks could be rebounding a little bit. Boeing had great news, has been getting great news, and there's been nothing but on a tear. And I've called that out around 120, and now we're up here around 180 something. So we could probably see 185 on it. China COVID restrictions, testing, and all that stuff is going to be at ease a little bit, so they should be in play. Baba, Baidu, KWeb, JD, XPEV, Nile. Those are all going to be good to watch. XPEV I really like a lot. I've always liked it. It's definitely inexpensive right now. And so yeah, I've done a couple videos this weekend already. A challenge account. Everybody knows that I'm doing a challenge account, and I was up pretty nice on that thing, and then I fell back on it and was about ready to give up, and I said, nah, it's not my time yet. I don't want to give up yet. I'm not a giver, a guy that likes to give up. So I'm going to go over just where I am on that right now. And that's the challenge account. I'm back. I started out with $2,000 on this thing, and I got it up to $2,500 to $2,600, and then I had two bad trades that really took it down big time. And I just sat there and watched it go down. So one lesson that I did learn is when something starts to look weak, it's best to get out of it right then and there. If you lose $100, $200, it's better than losing $600 to $800. So definitely, I was up on this thing real nice. I was at $2,700. I was up $700 on this thing, and I come into a downfall and had a bunch of real nasty days on this trade. I started this a month ago, and I was looking pretty good on it. And I did a video on it. You could go back and watch it. It'll explain everything that happened to me during this and how I felt and what changed my attitude when I came back in and started trading it all over again. I was down. I was up $2,600, $2,700, and then I took two bad trades and dropped it down almost $1,500. So it really kind of brought me down, but we all go through that. We all have a couple of big losses. We have, we got to try to minimize the loss. So that's one lesson that I learned. I've learned it many a times, but I kept holding on to this thing, and I got it down to 1065 right here, and that was on a Friday. Lost $800 on this trade, and the one before that I lost $684. I'm feeling pretty down, dumps about it, and I tried to figure out what caused me to go bad in this. What happened? What changed? And I think it was because I was getting tired, and I was just drinking too much coffee, getting tired midday, and then not concentrating. So I figured out a different way. I needed to stop drinking coffee, and I started drinking matcha. It gave me a different elevation, different level of thinking. I didn't feel tired. I just kept I just wanted to keep watching and looking and studying more. So after that, my account got back up. I didn't have a losing trade for a whole 2 weeks. I think I did get down on one trade and got out of it real fast because I learned my lesson. If you get in a bad trade, get out of it. Just take your loss. Losing $100 is a lot better than losing 800. It's a lot better than losing 1,000. And you could always buy the dip. It could be a great stock. It's just wrong. Timing was wrong. So that's very important to understand. And then I got this thing back up to the end of the day on Friday to 1960.13. I'm swinging Tesla. I don't know if that was a good idea. I got in it at 118, and it dipped on me, and I bought another contract at 88 cents. So my average right now is at 103. Now if this thing doesn't work for me Monday, I'm going to get out of the trade. I'm not going to hold on to it. It depends. I might just add 2 or 3 contracts and bring that price real down and get out of it with a better opportunity. But I also did a video on this, and you can go down into the content of the videos, and you can go back and watch this here video. And that's the test. That's my options challenge that I'm doing for the room. Plus I trade 2 other accounts. They're doing very well this year. I mean, they've done excellent this year. I learned how to do a sneaky snake trading strategy where you buy at support and sell at resistance. You take advantage of the dips. It's called Snake, Breakout, Pull Back, Boom. And I played off moving averages and I played off chart patterns. And I forgot to put this on record, so I'm going to start recording right now. And we're going to go ahead and get into the watch list. So let's get on it. I prepared a watch list for just today. And I've got some of my favorite tickers on there that we're going to be looking at. I'm going to go through them one by one real fast. And then I'm going to ask you all if you have a ticker that you want me to look at. And then we'll call it a day. So I'm going to be looking at the SPX more this week. I traded it a couple times last week and done very well on it. And it just seems like it's one to trade when the market's bullish. Is my sentiment bullish in the market? Yeah, it's a lot more bullish. The dips are a gift. If we come in and the market's down, like it was, Friday? We'll go over a couple good ideas that I took Friday that were just excellent. I've also got China on here. So I've got Nile, XPEV. I've got the SPY, which I trade every day. I trade it every day, right at open. I got Tesla on here. I trade it. I've got Amazon. I'm thinking of Christmas. I got Apple on here. I got another China stock, KWeb. I've got Meta, Baba, IWM, Netflix. Boeing was another good one that I took Friday that made a lot of money on it. We got China here again, JD and Baidu, BIDU, and then we got UPS. FedEx can be on here, so we're going to type that in here, FDX. And we're going to go ahead and go through them. The chart that I have that I use is called the TTM squeeze chart. You can pick it up on TOS. Some of the other platforms are starting to pick it up also. I've been trading off this chart for a very long time. I like how easy it is and how clean it is. If the market's in a downtrend, the candles stay red. If it's bullish, they get kind of green. I also have my moving averages on here. If you want to jot these down, I also have a link down in the content of a script, but I don't know if the 65's on here or the 51. But we're going to put them down in the order of the moving averages. First, we'll go off with the SMA. I have the 200 SMA on this chart. I have the 50 SMA on this chart. And I have the 21 SMA on this chart. Now, the EMAs, they're a price action one that you want to watch. If you're a fast scalper, you like to day trade. Plus, I use it on 3 different time frames. We have the 9 EMA, we have the 51 EMA, and we have the 65 EMA. So, and then I use patterns. We're always looking for patterns to trade off of. When I'm in this room, I like to trade off the patterns. If it doesn't have a pattern, I'm going to be scalping it fast. If it pulls out of a pattern, I'm going to be trading it. So I'm always looking for patterns and pointing out the patterns in the room and also on every chart that I post on social media. If it doesn't have a pattern, I'm probably not going to post it. So let's go ahead and start off with the very first one, and that's going to be the SPX. Now I'm going to clean these up, start fresh so we can get a better picture of them. They're not always to the penny, so they kind of move around a little bit on me. But I want to make a couple, identifications. For example, last week we broke the 200 SMA, and we've been trying to break that for almost 8 months, 7 months. We broke it here back in June, or was that back in May, January, February, March, April, somewhere back in there. And then we used it back during the July, June. We hit the 200 SMA, and then we pulled back to a bottom down here, and we're back up here at the 200 SMA and broke it. So what I'm thinking now is we got to hold this 200 SMA or hold the bottom of this here Darvis box that we've had right here. As I've said before, I like to play with patterns, chart patterns, and I look for patterns when I want to take a trade. So we've got a Darvis box right here with the bottom of that box right around in this part right in here. We did drop down below it and run into the 9. Now, so I'm thinking if we hold the top of the Darvis box, we can run back up and hit the top of this resistance level. And that is right around, well, let me see, I'll get this to the price line. Right around 408,757. And we're going to double check that to see how exact we are on the 20-day, 1-hour time frame. Basically, I use 3 time frames in the Sneaky Snake trading strategy. I'll use the daily. I'll use the weekly. Well, I'll use the weekly on the 3-year. This is how I called it off on the weekly. The SPX off the 200 SMA with a spinning top. We keep a good eye on candlesticks. And this is the real solid support that we bounced off on the weekly. And it run up and hit the 50 SMA. So that's the weekly. Then we got the yearly. All these moving averages change throughout every time frame. So now we busted past the 200. So that 200 becomes a solid support. To gain respect, if we pull back and hit that 200 SMA on the daily, it'd be a good idea to maybe take this trade and run it back up to the top. If it holds that 200 SMA. If it doesn't, it'll pull back to the top of this Darvis box, which that resistance line now becomes support, will be right around 4027.69. And then there's always a pivot point inside of the box, and that's right about in here, around 39.90.81, where you have the body of these 2 candles that create a solid pivot point area. And you'd have like a little channel in here. This candle, this right in here, so that would be kind of a solid support. A pivot point area inside of the Darvis box with your lowest down here at the bottom. Now if we see 39.58.27, I'm going to load the boat. But for right now, to stay bullish on the SPX, we need to hold the 200 SMA and break resistance, or find resistance at 4,087.57. I'll definitely be watching this chart this coming week because I want to play it a little bit more. People are making real good money on this here trade, and I just want to keep a good eye on it. So that's going to be that one. The next one is going to be Nile. Now Nile used to be one of my favorite China plays, and then it kind of went sour on me. We've had a nice little breakout with Nile here, and we've run into a 20-day high of resistance. And we do have us a nice little flag right here telling us that we could break out, and the resistance will be 1328 on the 20-day 1 hour. Now the low support is going to be where we had this triple top right down here. You see it found support right here once before, and it found support right in here. So no lower than 12 bucks keeps this stock very bullish. And if it pulls back to 12, that's going to be your ideal spot to get into the trade. And resistance to break will be that 1328. So we're going to pull up the yearly. We got a long ways to go on this trade. If China relaxes these COVID, they're definitely down. Their GDP is very low, the lowest I've ever seen in 20 years. You're talking about 3%. They don't want it down there. They don't want it down there at all. So that's why they're probably coming up, relaxing a little bit on their. They've been beaten up on Baba. They've been beaten up on social media, and their commie ways ain't working too well. So they're going to relax on a lot of restrictions, and they're going to relax on the COVID thing. I think we're in for a good run with China. So the pivot point area that we need to break on China is going to be this here upper line at 1526 on Nile. And if that breaks, we could have the possibility of running this back up to a real hard resistance at the 200 SMA. We hit the 200 SMA just a few months ago, And the same thing can happen again. If we break the 65, we've got the 65 EMA right now as resistance. So these moving averages work very well. Everybody has different moving averages that they work. I've been at this for a long time, so I've used them all. I find these the most comfortable ones and the most reliable ones. The 65 EMA, I just added it to my watch list about 3 months ago. I love it. I love it. I love it. I've been using the 51 as a resistance level, and now I'm realizing that 65 works even better. So if we break that 65 here at 1328 this coming week, we could see this thing running up to these next 3 candles right in here, and each body of these candles will be a resistance level. It'll be the first one after 1328 will be 1372, and then you got a gap play of 1426. That'll be a hard resistance to break. I'm going to coat that in red. That'll remind me that we've got something coming up. And if we break that gap, we could run it up here to the higher level, which would be right around 1479, and then that 200 SMA at 1526. Or not that, but what'd I say? Yeah, 1526. And then if she keeps going, if she gets real bullish, it can run $4 and get back up here to the 200 SMA, which is basically a pivot point on the yearly chart, right about in there, right around $18. So Nile, keep it on watch. Now, XP is one of my favorites. I'd like it over Nile. I think it's a lot better car. It's a lot more economical. It's more like the Tesla of China. And this is an EV sector. It's also at the 65. So we did break up above that 65, and I know some people that made real good money on this trade last week. If you look at it just on the 5-day, you'll see what I'm talking about. Friday, this thing just boomed on relaxation of them restrictions coming out, and people know it. She came back and consolidated. So basically, if I come in here Monday and I'm looking at this thing and it holds this here 200 SMA on the daily 1 minute, I might just take that trade and run it back up and try to find resistance here right around 1159. Or if that 1159 breaks, we've got to run this back up to 1217 in a hard resistance right at 1269. Now, I do like this stock. I really do. I traded this and made almost 100% on this thing back in here. The thing run up from $20 all the way to the 200 SMA to $15. And then 3 years ago, a couple years ago, where was that? I took it right here at 25 and run it all the way up to 50, up to about $45 and got out of the trade. So I really do like this stock. I like it a lot. Above Nile. But Nile's more popular. But this to me is a better company. And that hard resistance on this one's going to be right under $20 if it decides to blow and move on up. That's XPEV. Then this is my daily trader. I trade this every day. I love this stock. We bounced off the 200 SMA on the weekly. I called this out in the room. I said we're going to run on this thing, and we've run up and we've hit the 50 SMA already. So do we find any resistance? I don't know. We broke a major trend line on the weekly. I'm going to clean this up. I've made a ton of money on this trade. We definitely broke some resistance levels. We hang that to the right. And we take this trend line here, run it to the right. So we broke past both of them. Now this thing can pull back to a low support, no lower than 392, run into that 21. We do have the 9 crossing the 21, which gives it a little bit of bullishness. And if it does break the 51 right here, or the 50 SMA, this stock can move a lot higher. We still got to deal with the feds. But I don't think the market cares that much anymore. It does, but yet think we're going to be bullish until the end of the year, and I have my reasons for that. A lot of backroom meetings for one. So we got to break 412.13 this week. If we get it above that, and we're going to pull up the yearly, or we pull back to the 200 SMA on the yearly and find support right around 403. Now I called this out perfectly last week in a video if you want to go back and watch it, and we bounced right off of that 405 area and run it up. So I'm going to pull this up now to the 5-day, 5-minute. This is what I'm talking about right down in here. Friday, well, this was the one I'm talking about right here, where we pulled back to. Every pullback here has been a gift. Called this out last week on the Pow Pow speech. He definitely was talking about restraining himself with his gibberish, and all we had nothing with us. A huge bounce on this trade, and I took it and I ran it up. I took it in my challenge account, made just a little bit of money, but my personal account, I'd made about $3,000 on this trade alone as it run on up to the top. And I called it out at 87 cents, and it ran to 400 and something. So I was very pleased with this trade. And I also played the put right in here last Wednesday on the POW speech. Run back and hit that 9, got out of the trade, and boom! So this definitely, I'll be trading the SPY again. And this was a gift on Friday. I told everybody, I said, man, this is a gift. When you have a big engulfing candle like that on an algorithm, and the thing run all the way back up to the 200 SMA. This is a 5-minute time frame. I was probably looking at the 1 minute. I got out at the 200 SMA. That's where we hit right there. And she came back and she kept blowing back and hitting my moving averages, and then she just kept running for the rest of the day. It was just a beautiful trade all in out. It was consolidated down here with a triple bottom. Big old engulfing candle. This was a gift. This was definitely a gift. When you see something like that and you feel bullish in the market, you better be ready to start taking your favorite trades and running them up. A lot of people made a lot of money on Friday and Wednesday. And then at the end of the day, we had a nice little run on the SPY where it double topped up here. And that was the exit idea. You had that previous high right here. So if this thing pulls back, I can't see it go no lower than 403. And then retest the triple top and break out of that triple top. And that's going to be the SPY. I'm in Tesla right now. I took Tesla first thing in the morning, run this thing all the way up, got out of the trade, came right back down and took it again, run it back up to a double top, got out of the trade, and then I got back in it right here off this here trend line, and it dipped on me a little bit, and I bought that other call. And then at the end of the day, I held on to it because I've already went over my limit. This was in my challenge account, and I couldn't sell it without being penalized. And then she run up. At the end of the day, I would have probably sold that and made about $60 on that trade. So we'll just have to see if this thing pulls back down to this trend line again at 191.75. I'll probably load 5 contracts of it and then sell it on the way up and get out of the trade. But this is in my challenge account. I really like Tesla. It's not an easy trade right now. I mean, you got so much bad sentiment about it, but I just love what this guy's doing to Twitter. But a lot of people don't. You know, he's fighting like Trump did against the swamp. Is what I call it. Censorship. So I think it's one of the best. There's going to be a world-changing event. Him buying Twitter, cleaning up some of the censorship that's going on in our country. So the resistance to break will be 195.35. It could be an exit idea for me. I'm going to be in it all week long. Solid support at 191. Amazon's another Christmas special that I want to be watching. We're definitely down here at the bottom. We've got a symmetrical flag working. I think this trade can find some resistance right around 103.89 next week and pull back to a lower support no lower than what's down here on the daily, and that's going to be right at 92.25. Right now we're at 94.13. If it breaks below that, that's not going to be good. It could run down to another support level, which is going to be the bottom of this here spinning top, and that's going to be $89-$90, right around 90. But I think we're going to break out on this thing this coming week, and we're going to run it up, and we're going to find a triple top break right into the 51 at 103.89. Apple's another one that gets talked about a lot. We're going to clean this up so we can read it. This has definitely got a symmetrical flag moving on it. So the trend line to break on Apple is going to be right here. And I'm going to show you how to draw that out. Just take your little single trend line. You could run it from this body of this candle to the body of this candle and extend that to the right. And that's what we got to break. If we break past that trend line, we could run it up to a double top right at 152. And if they let restrict, the only thing pulling this back, in my opinion, is China. So if they lighten up on this stock right now, or if they lighten up on China and the restrictions of COVID, we're definitely going to see, and mark it down on paper, 152.29. That's a $5 bounce, and then double top here at the 200 SMA, and then bounce back down around. So definitely we've got three resistances to break on the daily, and that's going to be the 65. That's going to be right around 148.56. And then we've got the double top, triple top break up here at 152.29, long to 154. K-Web's a China play. We're definitely into getting ready to break resistance. This is the buy zone. This is called the sneaky snake strategy that I developed last week for swing trading. We have a head and shoulders right here. It definitely bounced off the shoulder line where we dipped right in here. This is called inverted head and shoulders. Inverted head and shoulders is a bullish pattern. So we have the shoulder line right here, and the neckline is right here. And that's going to be the pivot point inside of this Darvis box. Now that resistance level is that red line. That's your pivot point. And that red line is at 28.48, and we busted past that. So the next part's going to be the top of this here Darvis box, and that's going to be your buy zone. And if we break out of the buy zone right around off this here candle right here, I'll make sure I got that on there. That's going to be your hard resistance for K-Web. Now this is a China internet company, and I do believe that if we break that, we can get up in here to the consolidation zone. That depends on how bullish this market is and how China is. So your next resistance, if we break the Darvis box and we break that resistance level of $32, K-Web can run up here and have a triple top at 34.31, and that's 1, 2, 3. If the triple top doesn't break, it'll pull back down here to $32. Now the support is going to be the 200 SMA. That 200 SMA is going to be your solid support to keep it bullish. So if it does pull back some, and you're watching that daily, and you got the 200 SMA on there, look for that time frame or that price, and that's right around $28. And if that holds, that's part of your pivot point that you want it to hold, and that'll still be bullish. The trade will still be bullish if it holds at $28, because you're bouncing off that 200 SMA. So that's K-Web. And we got Meta. Now I called Meta out at $88 down here. I said this thing going to go to 123. Boom, 123 on Friday. So we found some resistance. 123 is definitely a pivot point. It's busted out of the gap. This is your new support level at 117.59. Now if this thing pulls back to 117.59 and holds, you're definitely going to run it back up for a double top break into the 65 EMA. And that'll be a hard resistance, the 65 EMA. And that's going to be right around 127.04. So this is definitely in play next week. They got 20 billion in cash. This pullback was a gift. I told everybody in the room, I said, man, I don't know why you're not buying this at 88 bucks. They have 20 billion in cash. 20 billion. No matter how negative we were on Zuck, how stupid he was to call this thing Meta. I mean, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life when it comes to a CEO changing the name of what works. Why would you want to screw up something that works? You know, I've been in business. If I've took businesses and I've turned them around, and if something works, you don't go changing it overnight and trying to make something new out of it. You start something different. You just don't. I just think it was the dumbest, boldest move I've ever seen in my life. So they were calling this thing to go out when they turned it to Meta to go to $400 to $500, and I laughed at everybody that said that. It dropped all the way down to $88 with 20 billion in cash. So we got to break the 65 now, and that will be a hard resistance, and then we'll have to respect that 127.04 if it does get up there. It's too late to be buying this to hold long. I'd wait for a pullback to 117.50, 59, and if it does hit that, then I would probably load the boat and run it back up to 126, 127. So that's Meta. I'm really bullish on that one too. BABA, this is another one that can break out of after the 200 SMA, especially if they lighten up on the COVID restrictions. I think this thing can run back up to 100, break 100, and then find some hard resistance right here at 104.72. Now that's going to be your pivot point. It's going to be basically right around the $100 level. Probably right about in here at, right at 140, somewhere in that area. So you'll have a channel of resistance between 100 and 104. Now this thing can run up more and find a very hard resistance right around 111 off the bottom of this here Darvas box. I'm always looking for patterns, right? Patterns is the key of everything. If you want to become a good trader, you got to look for patterns in history. So that is a Darvas box that went on for about 3 or 4 months, maybe longer than that. It created another Darvas box here. It created another one right in here. So you have, real solid resistance level on the top of this Darvas box. But we got to break the 200. BABA can run back up and break 100 easily. Once the momentum catches up to it, definitely. Solid support is going to be no lower come this week. If you find 84 bucks, this thing goes to $84, I'd be loading the boat. I would load the boat. There'd be no doubt in my mind I'd go long at $84 and run this back up to the 200 again. And that'd be a $9 scalp. Now this thing really can start to break out if they do restrict COVID restrictions. So keep a good eye on BABA this week. IWM's been the strongest of my indices, definitely the strongest one of all. And it could be more relaxed, who knows? But this thing's had one heck of a run. It's hardly had any red days, any bad pullbacks. It's only had 2 that I can recall in the last 3 months, 2.5 months off the bottom. I called both this trade here. I called this trade in here. I called this double bottom. And I'm calling it off the 65 right now. If it does pull back and hit that 65 at 51, right around 180.92, that could be a very strong buy. That's a pivot point here on the 6-month chart. Somewhere down lower than that is going to be, load the boat time. But it needs to hold these moving averages, and that could be the 21 at 183 or the 180. No lower than that. Resistance to break this coming week is going to be right around 188. And if it can break 188, you can definitely get it back up here to this next channel at 190.67. But this thing's had the best run of all the indices. I can see it pulling back and getting a little bit weaker, but being able to scalp it real good in the daytime, day trade it. It's in day trade territory. It's already had the breakout where you want to swing something, so you got to basically just let it kind of pull back a little bit and then take the bounces on the dip. Netflix is a beautiful trade that I've took, and I've just called this sucker out many a times. I've got it. Well, I'm going to show you something I have on this chart. I'm just going to throw this in right now. So, 5 things to know to build a watch list. Jot this down if you don't. If you're not from watch list is a key to every trader. Is the winning. You could trade 5 stocks. I've done seminars, run them a week long, and put 5 tickers on the board and traded every one all week long. I trade the same 2 tickers here for the last year every day. Tesla and the SPY. That's all I needed to make the money that I made this year alone. So you don't need a boat to catch a fish. You just need to put that line in the right area of the lake, and you can catch all the fish you want all day long right off the bank. So we've got 5 trades right here. We've got 5 reasons to keep a watch list. Keep your watch list simple and fresh. Keep it simple and fresh. If you're a beginner, jot down 10 of your favorite tickers and follow them all the time. If some of them get bad, take them off the list and add a new one. Maybe that's running at the time. Maybe that's more focused. Filter down to the focused watch list. That means clean it up. Focus on a sector. Number 3, play your favorites. I play my favorites all the time. This watch list has my favorite stocks on it. Most of them on here are my favorite. I look at them every day. I see which ones are down, and I might take advantage of them. Like SPX, down $4.87. That sounds like I could come in here Monday and really clean it up. If it's broke out, like Baidu, $5, I might wait for a pullback and jump in that trade. Find what you want. Find what you want. You know, what do you want? What do you want out of a watch list? Stay in the now. Keep up with the news. I've mentioned the China restrictions today. That's being in the now. Oil. We've had a price cap on Russia oil. That's going to piss off Russia. That might hurt the middle. That might hurt. He might cut off oil to all the people that depend on it. People got too dependable on the Russian oil. Then we've got Biden with his war on oil that's caused all this drama. As a trader for 20 years, most of this drama that's happening, this recession, the world recession, is off Biden, Joe Biden. It's not off us invading Ukraine. I'm not us, but it's off our war on oil, because that's all they talk about, oil. That's the biggest problem right now. So, I keep being in the now. So let's get back to the Netflix. That's just my opinion. Paper tiger. Our president is, whatever, he's just a puppet. So that's just the way it is. So Netflix, I really like this stock. I'm going to erase everything on here so I can see it a little bit clearer. And we're going to pull up the yearly. Netflix has had a great run. This is very bullish pattern right here right now, and we're definitely at the top of that resistance line, and we're going to draw that in with a snake. We take the first line of this right here, run it into the next candle, bring it back down to the bottom down here, and that's your trend line. We're going to run this all the way to the left, and we're going to run it all the way to the right. This is called a linear channel. Whoop. It's called a linear channel. This is a triple top. So if Netflix decides to break, I mean, we've had a heck of a bounce on this thing in 3 days, from 280 all the way to 320. That's a $40 bounce. This thing can pull back, find support off this previous resistance level, no lower, a little bit lower than $300. And if it pulls back to 300, I think we'd have us a nice little place. So I'm going to set an alert on the bottom of this candle at 303.33, just to have it here. And if it goes off on my alert system, I'm going to be ready to take this trade. What I'd set that at. Let's do this again. I want to put it at the mark. Set it at the mark. So if this thing pulls back to 303.94, I'm going to load the boat and run this back up to the top to 320. 320 is going to be a hard resistance. Right around 320.48 if that breaks. So we'll bring this to the 20-day. We got another support level right in here, right on the bottom of this candle, but we're going to take it to the top right here. That's going to be your other support. So I'm going to put another alert right at 312. 312.86. Set it at the mark. If that pulls back and hits that, that's going to be a strong buy. And your first support is going to be right in here where it consolidated. And then I'm going to take another alert right around 316. I think Netflix will be in play next week, and we'll place it at the mark also. So I've definitely got a strong buy at 303, 312.86, and 317.86. Boeing broke out of Darvis box, a 20-day Darvis box on Friday off of news. It got a new contract for their airplanes, and this sucker just ran up big time. Big time. I've been all over Boeing at 120. I told people when it was down here to buy the stock, to hold it, because just everything but good news was coming out. All these orders are coming in, and I mean, I've been trading this every day, at least once or twice a week. And now we broke resistance. Now we broke a resistance again. This thing can fly all the way up here and find a hard resistance at 189.27. That's where these here pivot point areas are, the 3 supports, and then it finally broke down, found resistance right there. So definitely I can see this running to 189, but we got to break 185 first. This is a real good trade right now. This is on top of my list. Take it to the 20-day, and it pulls back to the top of the Darvis box at 178.65. This is going to be a good buy. So I'm going to set an alert on the top of these candles right here, and that alert is at 179.26. If it dips on down there, it's going to be a very strong buy, because I think it will hold the resistance level, which now becomes support on top of the Darvis box, and that'll be just a strong buy to hold this. It'll be bouncing off the 21, and if not, if it does break the 182.95 come Monday, we're going to take it to 185 and scalp it. We're in scalping territory. If it drops down to 180, it'll be a swing trade. Boeing, I'm definitely fired up on Boeing. JD's another good China play. We're at a 20-day double top on it right now, and that's right around 59.59. If that breaks, we could run it up to 60.68. If it doesn't break and it pulls back, more China crap comes in, your first support's going to be right here at 57.88, and then down here in the gap support level right around 56.76. That's where this gap is in here that we had 3 days ago. This has been a good runner. It likes to pop. It's had some real nice little 3 white soldiers right in here. If you look at them on the daily, I bet you that's what they are. No, they're just big old gap ups. So this thing can definitely, I mean, this is enormous. 200 SMA is your low support at 56.34. You want that to hold. So we're going to create an alert right there. I'm going to raise it up just to 56.50. And set that alert right there. Actually, I'm going to bring it back up to 56.76. Put it a little bit above that. $57. If this thing holds at 57, we could probably run it back up here to a triple top break at 58.76. Now these are daily candles. See how it found resistance here and how it found resistance here on Friday. So it needs to hold 57. Baidu's another one that I really love. This thing's had a wonderful run. I really like this stock a lot. I've made a lot of money on this one too, but I haven't traded it that much at all like I should have been. So I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to this one right now. Lowest support is going to be this bottom right here that we have back here. History tells, history repeats, right around 105.02. So I'm going to set an alert just a little bit above it and try to catch that bottom if it does pull back. Resistance to break is going to be the gap, and that's going to be right there at 115.05. See what happened Friday? See the gap here? 115.05 is the hard resistance. If we break past that, we'll run it up to the next candle to that next day, and that'll be right around 118.46. Then long here at the top of the body of these candles at 124.33. But I think it's going to pull back to 106.54, somewhere in that area, maybe a little bit higher than that, somewhere in this channel. I'm going to set another alert right here off this here. I definitely got to do it off this tweezer top. I'd be an idiot if I didn't. So I'll create another alert right at 108.71. These are going to be the solid supports, and then break it back for the triple top up here. What did I say that was? What was I looking at? Right here. Yep. 115. So I'm going to change that to a red line. Got the gap. A lot of stocks will fill that gap and then pull back. So your last final support is going to be this here gap. And I'm going to go ahead and set an alert right there. 111.80. That's it on Baidu. UPS got upgraded last week. It's also had a good run. It broke the 200 SMA and pulled back on it to Friday. So that's your solid support. I've got 185.32 to hold. That's this ascending triangle. See that ascending triangle right there? When they break out of that, they like to pull back to that old resistance, and it will now become support. So I'm going to set an alert just right above 185.32 to take this trade. 185.50. Well, let's just keep it right here. 185.80. And I'll be able to take that trade off that and then come back up and try to break resistance at 190. That's going to be your hard resistance to break. And then the last one's FedEx. It had that bad earnings. It's already bounced back. It's got a huge gap to fill. I think it can fill it. The bottom of this here candle right here is your resistance that it's going to go to, 196.73. If it holds to 65 or any of these moving averages down here, we could have a good break. I can't hardly see it coming back down here at 162. If it does, it'll be a very strong buy. So we got to break resistance on this one this coming week at 182.16. And then we'll fill the rest of the gap up to 196. That's it. Any questions on any of them stocks that I talked about? I'm surprised I only got 3 people in here watching, but that's all right. What time frames do you like the support and resistance hourly, daily, and weekly, and the 1 minute, Steve? The 1 minute. So that's my watch list. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here for a little bit. Let you all copy and paste it for next week. So we've got 3 good things going on. We've got the China restrictions. Number 1, that could be a bullish calculus to run the market up. We've got the oil embargo. Russia's not happy with that at all. That could cause the price of oil to go up. And we've got this is one of my biggest catalysts lately. Hedge fund people, only 10% of them had been profitable all year long. 90% have been in the red. So they want to build their accounts up, and this market's rigged. They're all going to be running. That's why we're bullish right now. Plus we've got Pow, the Feds. That's probably the major catalyst. You've seen how the market reacted on Monday off of his speech, on Wednesday off his speech, and I think that is just going to go ahead and keep us bullish into a bullish market into 2023. The market tries to think 6 months ahead. They've been behind. They haven't yet called a recession. I've called a recession last year, and so they're looking into next year. 6 months later, they think we're going to be, doing pretty good. I think we are too, unless something happens. China invades Taiwan, or North Korea does something stupid, or even Russia does something more stupid, like a nuking us. So that's that. But there's your little watch list, and then I'm going to take a little sip of tea. I think I'm going to go nuke this real fast, and I'll be right back. Then we'll talk about stocks that you all want to talk about. And you can go ahead and I'll run them to you right now, Steve. I did a video on these back a ways. If you go back, I might put it down in the content if I can find it on my moving averages. But let's go ahead and do that real fast. You got a pencil and paper? The 200 SMA is in this dark orange, dark gold. The 200 SMA, and I'll type them up in here. $200 SMA orange. We've got 50 SMA in green. We've got the 21 SMA in white. We've got the 65 EMA in pink. We got the 51 EMA in purple, and we got the 9 EMA in light blue. And then I'm going to go nuke up my water. And I'll be right back. Copy and paste that if you want. Did I put EMA or SMA? Yeah, EMA. Matcha. I've been sitting behind this desk for a very long time, and it gets boring. You know, I've been 20 years every day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And here lately I've been getting a little tired. Probably because I'm getting a little bit older. So I made a decision to stop drinking coffee because I felt that was part of bringing me down a little bit. I could feel it different. Things change metabolically in your body as you get older. So I started drinking. I got on the internet and I was thinking about drinking smoothies, and matcha come up. I did some studies and homework on matcha, and I liked what they were saying about it. It was an anti-detoxant, and that it made your awareness a little bit more clearer, and it not like coffee that would bring you down and give you the jitters. This keeps you going, and your metabolism and everything. So I started drinking that, and I could tell the way I talk, the way I think, the way I study. It was a totally different mindset than what I'm used to. And I'm going to keep drinking that stuff and see if that helps me. I think it has a big influence, because I know my body pretty much. I'm fairly healthy. To be 61 and not have too many issues. So I'm going to keep that up and see if that keeps me more awake and more alert throughout the day. It's a different kind of caffeine high. I almost swear by it. But I've only been a couple weeks. But I'm definitely not drug out and going, God, looking at my watch, waiting for 3 or 4 o'clock to come around so I can get out of here. And I'm making more money doing it for some reason. So that's just my matcha speech. What stock were we looking at here? FedEx. So how do you have the fibs on the TOS auto indicator? If you go back, back in the content, if you go look in the content down there, there's the chart set up already for the TTM squeeze. And there's nobody, I don't think, that has this set up. This was given to me. I couldn't tell you exactly how to put it in there, but you can copy and paste the script. It's an auto Fibonacci thing that I have. You can copy and paste the script and you'll have this set up with the automatic fibs on here. And what I like about it is I can change different time frames, and then fibs are going to be on here. I don't have to work them. I could change it to the daily, it's on here. I can change it to the weekly, it's on here. I can change it to the 5-minute, 5-day, and it's on here. I can change it to the 1 day, 1 minute, and it's on here. I really like that setup, and I'm always changing. I'm always going through here. Like, say we had the 20-day, and I wanted to catch the run from here up to here. I'll just go to Fibonacci, and I'll take that price and trade it like that. Now I know the 50% pullback is going to be right at 175, which is a pivot point inside of this here channel. So that looks pretty reasonable. Or I'll take it off the 200 SMA at the 38 or the 62 pullback. 61.8% if you reversed it. But it's down there. Let me take a sip and we'll go over some stocks. Any more questions about anything else before we start looking at stocks? Here's a fib setup. If you want to copy and paste that, I don't know if that'll be any help to you for the fib setup. Okay. I'm also live on YouTube. The PayPal thing I have down here at the bottom right now to pay for my scanner and stuff. That's all I asked for basically is out right now, but you can always donate. Go back to my channel and look down in the content and look for that PayPal and give a little small donation if you like. But right now I need a new one. So we're going to look at the first one that come up, and I'm going to write these down on paper so I can watch them and talk about them on Monday. The stocks that you all want me to go through. And the first one on here is from Florence. I'm going to put Florence down here, and that ASAN. Now this one had a bad pullback off news, so we're going to type that in. Earnings. Earnings were a negative. Always have a 3-day rule on a pullback like this. Wait 3 days before you want to add on, unless it breaks a certain resistance level. So we're going to pull up the yearly, clean this up. We're definitely at a year low at 1502. So resistance to break would have to be this bottom candle right here. Whoops, I don't think that's where I wanted it. I want to make sure I get that precise. Dadgummit. 1603. We're at 1619 right now, so it barely budged above it. So the low support's definitely going to be the double bottom at 1520. But you got a little bitty, we're going to use the body of that candle for your low support at 1570. 1570 has to hold. I don't know if I'd add on there. I don't know if I'd add on at all. If I was in this trade, I'd just write it out and see if it got back up to 1713. And that's going to be your resistance at 1713. And if that breaks, I'd probably add on and then run it up to the 21, which would be right at 1852, and get out of the trade. That would be my hard resistance. That's where we pulled back here. That's where we found resistance here. That's where we found resistance here. That's where we've a little bit above it. No higher than 1883. No higher than that. You're in what you call desperate mode right now. So any kind of bounce up, it's going to be a gift. And at 1713 is going to be your hard resistance to break. I would not add on nothing until it broke that at 1713, and then run it up to around 1850, and then get out of the trade. Run it up to the 21. There's your 21 EMA, and that'll be your hard resistance. If it breaks that, it could run up here to the 51. So earnings is the reason this thing pulled back. I'd look into the news and get a good definition of what's going on. And if it breaks the 1713, you'll run it up easily to 1850. If not, she'll pull back and find a channel between the 1520 area and the 1713. Then I'd be trading it in and out, in and out, in and out of that area. I wouldn't want to well wish and think it's going to run up and get lucky on it. I'd probably have to be logical and scalp it to get my money back, or day trade it. And that's going to be AZAN off earnings. Tech, TECH, a K, right? This one's had a nice little breakout. Definitely broke out of a pivot point area at 3708. Tech Resources, they got a new chief financial officer. Tech announces a vice president. So they're switching things around. They got a new was CFO of the Tech Resource. So they're changing everything around. That's good in a company. It's a gold stock, am I right? Expands discovery, gold miners. Let's see what this thing does. I go to FinViz to kind of dig up a website, or go to that's a copper. Got gold and copper. They don't even have a website, do they? There they do. Solar? Are they into solar? Mining. They're a mining conference. Canada. They're based out of Canada. Okay, that's a down. That's a downer. But they're definitely cleaning house. They're definitely putting new management everywhere, which is really good for a company. They'll call it a stir up. That's probably why this thing wants to run a little bit. That's exactly why it runs. So this thing can pull back to 35. It can pull back to the 200 and find some kind of respect after a breakout like this, or hold this here pivot point area at 37.08 and run up higher and find some resistance up here right around 38.56. I see these candles right in here. A lot of pivoting right in here. So that's kind of a hard resistance, a resistance and a support area. So first support is going to be no lower than the 200 SMA, which is right around 35.31. If that holds, you can run it back up and start to create a Darvas box to the right. I find it hard to believe that it's going to break 38.56. So I see it pulling back some and maybe holding up the 9 EMA on the daily, or holding that 200 up for sure, and then playing that channel. And that'll be the way I look at that stock. But I like the shake up, but it's already had its run off the shake up. See what I'm saying? 3 spinning top, so it's definitely going to pull back a little bit. You're welcome. Well, it beat expectations, but it pulled back real hard, Florence. It shouldn't have acted like that. So it's definitely got to get past 17.13. That's your hard resistance for now. If it gets up there and it doesn't break it, I'd almost get out of it, wait for it to pull back again and get back in it. I wouldn't sell it here or no. I'd read about that guidance. It says net loss widens. What it says here, that the loss widens, not shrinks. So I don't know how it beat expectations. Okie dokie. Anything else you want to look at? The 3-day rule might be a great opportunity. Give it 3 days and see what happens. And that'll you'll know then if you want to add on or not. So I think that's about it. Go back and watch that pot video I did. They've definitely been looking good. CF. Here's one that really loves bouncing off the 200, that's for sure. And right now it's holding up to 65. So this is ready to run back up. You'll definitely find some resistance level on this one at 108.46. So if you can get in this trade and it starts to run up on tomorrow, or this is definitely a buy zone. Definitely a buy zone with an ascending triangle. And maybe soon this thing's going to break out. You got a head and shoulders right here. So that's the shoulder line. And it can run, this definitely looks good. If it holds the 65 on the daily, I'd almost run it up $4. $3.50 to $4 and get out of the trade. If it dips below that 65, I can see it holding support at 128. Definitely there. On the 6-month time frame, that's a pivot point area. But if it holds that 65, this thing can run up. See how many times it's found resistance up here on this trend line? At 108.50, 108.46, 108 no higher than that. Yeah, Jimmy likes that one. I'm going to put CF down here. And then you had TECK. Okay. Well, I'm going to get out of here. Remember, I'm live on YouTube. We do have a chat room. Hit that like button. And I'm going to go out and buy me a shirt. Matcha. What did I do? Say thanks. Thanks all. Retail traders. Now this here will be recorded too if you want to go back and watch some of that watch list and write them down. I kind of went through them fast. But remember, we got China plays. So if you got a favorite China stock, I'd be watching it. I'd be definitely watching the oil /CL. We talked about this one last week and it bounced up. Off this bottom right here. Had snake breakout, pull back, boom. So we definitely got to keep these on watch, see if they pull back any, no lower than 76.97. You got XOM on there that we like to trade with this. It's definitely at a bottom right now on a 20-day. This could be run up a little bit, the XOM. Then you got Oxy. It's definitely down here also on the 20-day. This could reverse back up, run up to $69. So that's a dollar bounce. Maybe run into the 70. So it'll be $2.50. Run back into the 200, I mean. So those three will definitely be watching on Monday. Subscribe. My links are down there to my Twitter and StockTwits account. Subscribe to them too. Spread the word. And we'll catch y'all later. Thank you, Florence. Thank you, Mr. Critical, for showing up. Thank you, Spice, for showing up. Steve, appreciate you showing up. Steve Nash. Didn't have too many come in here today. That's okay. My time's not wasted. It never is. We'll see y'all later.